Most people react to life like a fire alarm. Something goes wrong, somebody says something, and boom, they explode. But the people who win in this world don't react, they reflect. Because the moment you pause, the moment you breathe, the moment you choose to think instead of panic, you become unstoppable. You stop being controlled by life and you start controlling it. Think about this. Every time something happens to you, there are two voices inside. There's the fast voice, the emotional one, the one that wants to fire back, defend, attack, prove, scream, react. And then there's the quiet voice, the voice that thinks, the voice that processes, the voice that sees the bigger picture. Most of the world lives by the first voice. They respond before understanding, they speak before thinking, and they destroy opportunities, relationships, and peace because they let a temporary feeling make a permanent decision. But the few who step into their power understand a simple truth. Your first response is not always your best response. And if you want a better life, you have to train yourself to pause. The pause is where your power is. The pause is where wisdom lives. The pause is the difference between reacting out of emotion or responding out of intelligence. When someone disrespects you, when life disappoints you, when things don't go your way, the world tells you to fight back instantly. But if you react in the moment, you react from emotion. Emotion is temporary. Decisions are permanent. That combination ruins lives. Most problems don't come from what happened. They come from how someone reacted to what happened. People lose jobs not because they made a mistake, but because they reacted defensively. Relationships fall apart, not because of the argument, but because of the reaction inside the argument. Opportunities are lost because someone reacted with ego instead of clarity. You can be right and still lose. You can have a point and still fail to communicate it. When emotion rises, intelligence falls. That's why the strongest person in the room is never the loudest. It's the one who is calm enough to think. You learn more in silence than you ever will in chaos. When someone triggers you, your mind floods with emotion, anger, embarrassment, frustration, pride, and those emotions push you to speak fast. But powerful people don't speak fast. They listen fast, they observe fast, they analyze fast, they react slow. Because reacting slow doesn't mean weakness, it means strategy, it means control. It means you are choosing your response instead of letting the moment choose it for you. Life gives every one of us moments of pressure. You will be tested by people who misunderstand you, disrespect you, ignore you, provoke you. But here's the truth most people never learn. People don't control you, you control you. Your emotions are your responsibility. Your reactions are your responsibility. The moment you understand that, you become unstoppable. You no longer hand your peace to someone else's behavior. You no longer let someone's bad day turn into your bad decision. That pause protects you. That pause gives you power. That pause separates average lives from disciplined lives. Some people say, but I'm just emotional, I can't control it. That's not true. You can't stop the first emotion, but you can control the next move. You cannot control the first thought, but you can control the next action. You might feel angry, hurt, or disrespected. That's human, but reacting instantly doesn't fix anything. It makes things worse. You can't take words back. You can't reverse actions. You can't undo damage, but you can prevent it by giving yourself just 5 seconds of reflection. 5 seconds is sometimes all it takes. 5 seconds of breathing, 5 seconds of thinking, 5 seconds of awareness. Those 5 seconds can turn a fight into a conversation, a mistake into a lesson, a problem into a plan. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be aware. The more aware you are, the more control you have. And the more control you have, the less life knocks you around. Some of the most successful people in the world are not the smartest, not the richest, not the strongest. They are the calmest. They are the ones who can sit in pressure and think. They are the ones who don't let a moment destroy their progress. They don't make permanent decisions from temporary feelings. They don't let anger, jealousy, or frustration choose their next move. They choose for themselves because every reaction has a cost. Every reaction has a consequence. And the world is full of people who are paying a lifelong price for a 5-second reaction. They threw away trust, they lost respect, they walked out on something meaningful. They made a choice that felt good in the moment, but destroyed everything after it. You are better than that. You are stronger than that. And you are wiser than that when you give yourself room to reflect. You don't pause because you're weak. You pause because you care about the outcome. You pause because you value your future more than the temporary satisfaction of reacting. You pause because you live by principles, not impulses. And when you learn to pause, you begin to master yourself. When you master yourself, you master your life. Remember this, life is not about what happens to you. It's about what you do next. And the next time you're triggered, the next time you're tested, the next time your emotions start yelling and demanding you react, tell yourself, I choose power. I choose clarity. I choose to think. Because the strongest version of you doesn't react. The strongest version of you responds. And that response can change everything. People fear mistakes more than they fear failure. They think a mistake is the end, a sign they aren't good enough, a reason to quit, hide, shut down, or doubt themselves. But a mistake is never the problem. The reaction after the mistake is what determines someone's future. Some people make a mistake and they attack themselves, they drown in guilt, they run from the world. Others make a mistake and they learn, they reflect, they grow. They try again with more intelligence than before. That's the difference between people who stay stuck and people who break through. Reflection, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna say the wrong thing, make the wrong choice, trust the wrong person, miss the opportunity, lose the chance, make the wrong move. Life guarantees it. But life also gives you a hidden gift inside every mistake, wisdom. And wisdom only shows up when you stop reacting emotionally and start reflecting intelligently. If you mess up, don't spiral, stop. Ask yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me? Because every mistake carries a message. And if you ignore it, the mistake repeats itself. Life will keep testing you with the same lesson until you learn from it. People who only react never grow. They blame, they defend themselves. They try to justify the mistake, hide the mistake, pretend it didn't happen. But when you defend a mistake, you guarantee you repeat it. When you reflect on it, you guarantee you evolve from it. Reflection turns a moment of weakness into a lifetime of strength. Reflection turns embarrassment into education. Reflection turns regret into transformation. Think back on your life. Some of the greatest growth you ever experienced didn't come from success. It came from pain. It came from disappointment. It came from something that didn't go your way. But you grew when you stopped reacting to the pain and started asking, why did this happen? What can I change? What can I learn? Your future does not come from perfection. It comes from progress. And progress is born from reflection. Most people think mistakes are roadblocks. They're not. They're signposts. They show you where to improve. They show you what to avoid. They show you what needs to change. Mistakes only hurt when you don't learn from them. If you learn, they become fuel. Every successful person you admire has failed more times than you can imagine. But they didn't stay locked in shame, fear, or ego. They extracted the lesson and they used it. When you reflect, you start seeing the truth. The mistake wasn't the problem, the lack of awareness was. The communication wasn't clear. The planning wasn't strong enough. The emotion was too high. The preparation wasn't there. When you reflect, you get answers. And with answers, you gain confidence. You feel control again. You feel direction again. The pain stops controlling you and you start controlling the pain. Some of you are carrying mistakes from years ago, mistakes you've punished yourself for, mistakes you still replay in your mind. But no amount of guilt changes the past and no amount of fear changes the future. Reflection does something much more powerful. It changes you. It gives meaning to what happened. It turns chaos into clarity. It turns confusion into wisdom. It turns shame into strategy. You don't heal from a mistake by burying it. You heal by understanding it. Reflection is a conversation with yourself, not a conversation where you judge or attack yourself, but where you coach yourself. What did I learn? What do I do differently next time? How did this make me stronger? When you start asking those questions, something incredible happens. You become harder to break. Life can hit you, but you get smarter. Life can knock you down, but you stand up with more knowledge than before. If you reflect after every setback, you never actually go backward, you always go forward, even if it looks like a loss. People who rise in this world are not the ones who never make mistakes. They are the ones who never waste them. They don't react by quitting. They don't react by blaming others. They don't react by pretending nothing happened. They reflect, they study themselves, they adjust, and they return stronger. That is how leaders are built. That is how confidence is built. That is how wisdom is built, through reflection, not reaction. You don't need a perfect past to build an extraordinary future. You just need reflection. You just need the courage to look at your behavior, your choices, your habits, your patterns, and say, this is what I did, this is what I learned, this is who I am becoming. That is growth. That is transformation. That is where personal power comes from. Never fear the mistake, fear ignoring it, fear repeating it. fear reacting so fast to the pain that you never gave yourself a chance to understand it. Because when you gain understanding, the mistake is no longer a failure, it becomes a step forward. And maybe right now someone listening is holding on to a mistake they think ruined everything. But hear this clearly, it only ruins you if you refuse to learn from it. Reflection gives you a second chance. It gives you wisdom your past self didn't have. It gives you a future your current self can build. So don't just feel your mistakes, study them, grow from them. Because the moment you start reflecting instead of reacting, your mistakes stop controlling you and you start using them to control your future. There is a kind of power most people ignore because it doesn't look loud, it doesn't look aggressive, it doesn't look forceful, it's not the person screaming, it's not the one trying to win every argument, it's not the one always trying to prove a point. The real power is silence. Silence is confidence. Silence is clarity. Silence is choosing to protect your energy instead of wasting it. Silence is the moment you listen instead of explode, observe instead of react, understand instead of assume. Most people think silence means weakness, but it is the exact opposite. Silence is self-control. And the moment you learn self-control, you become unstoppable. When someone disrespects you, your instinct wants to react. When life frustrates you, your emotions want to burst. When someone challenges you, your pride wants to fight back. But silence gives you space. Silence gives you distance. Silence gives you time to think. You cannot hear your own wisdom if your mind is full of noise. You cannot hear the lesson if your voice is always trying to dominate the room. The person who chooses silence is not the one losing the battle, it's the one refusing to lose control. In silence, you can hear what others are missing. You can see what others overlook. You can understand what others rush through. That's why the strongest leaders, the best communicators, the most intelligent minds don't speak first, they listen. They don't reveal everything they think. They don't panic. They don't rush. They are comfortable letting silence speak for them because silence never betrays emotion. Sometimes silence is the smartest answer you can give. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every insult deserves your energy. Not every argument deserves your voice. Silence keeps your dignity intact. Silence stops you from saying something you can't take back. Silence allows people to reveal themselves. If someone is rude, impatient, lying, manipulative, silence exposes them faster than confrontation ever will. Because when you are calm and they are chaotic, everyone sees the truth. Some of you have wasted your peace trying to defend yourself to people who aren't even listening. You've tried to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You've reacted to someone's anger with more anger. That cycle destroys you. Silence breaks that cycle. Silence says, I see what you're doing, but I'm not giving you control over my state. You cannot argue with someone who is committed to chaos. You cannot reason with someone who only wants to win, not understand. Silence protects your mind from people who don't deserve access to it. Silence also teaches you the power of patience. Every time you want to react, but you choose to breathe instead, you get stronger. Every time you want to fight back, but you choose to analyze instead, you grow. Your silence is not about the other person, it's about you mastering yourself. A person who can stay calm when they have every reason to be upset is a person who has discovered real strength. Your silence doesn't mean you don't care, it means you care about your peace more than the argument. It doesn't mean you don't notice what's happening. It means you're smart enough to choose your battles. It doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you are wise enough to say nothing until the right moment. Because when the wrong emotion leads the conversation, the right words never come out. But when silence gives you space to think, your words become powerful. There will be moments when people want to drag you into their storms. Let silence protect you. There will be moments when someone throws negativity at you because they want a reaction. Let silence starve their chaos. There will be moments when people try to make you look weak because you're calm. Let silence prove them wrong when your life continues to rise and theirs stays stuck in noise. You don't grow by fighting every battle. You grow by choosing the right ones. Silence allows you to see what matters. Silence allows you to recognize when walking away is wiser than trying to win. You don't need to prove yourself to someone who has already decided who you are. You don't need to shout to make your value known. Your behavior, your results, your energy will speak louder than your voice ever could. Think about how many times you reacted fast and regretted it. How many times you said something in anger you wish you could take back? How many times a moment of emotion created a problem that never needed to exist? Silence would have saved you. Silence would have protected you. Silence would have kept your power in your hands instead of handing it to someone else. When you choose silence, you choose self-respect. You choose intelligence. You choose peace. And that doesn't make you passive, it makes you dangerous. Because people who cannot be triggered, controlled, manipulated, or provoked are untouchable. Your silence is a shield. Your silence is strategy. Your silence is strength. There will always be noise around you. People arguing, complaining, judging, attacking, misunderstanding. You don't have to join them. You don't have to react the way they expect. When you stay silent, calm, and grounded while the world is loud, something powerful happens, you rise above it. So the next time life tries to pull a reaction out of you, remember this truth. The loudest person is rarely the strongest. The calmest person is. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Every single one of us wakes up every day hoping the world behaves the way we want it to. We hope people treat us fairly. We hope plans go smoothly. We hope opportunities work out. We hope life cooperates. But that's not how life works. The world will not adjust to your expectations. People will not always be kind. Things will not always go your way. Life will throw chaos at you, pain at you, surprises at you. If your peace depends on everything going perfectly, you will never have peace. The only real control you have in this world is how you choose to respond. You cannot control what someone says about you, but you can control whether you let it break you. You cannot control traffic, delays, disappointments, setbacks, but you can control whether they ruin your day or sharpen your patience. You cannot control someone hurting you, leaving you, lying to you, judging you, but you can control whether you let it destroy your spirit or strengthen your standards. Your power doesn't come from controlling life, it comes from controlling yourself in the middle of life. Look at the people who are constantly angry, bitter, stressed, frustrated. It's not because life is uniquely hard for them, it's because they gave control of their emotions to circumstances they can't change. You hand away pieces of your power every time you say, they made me angry, that ruined my mood, they ruined my day. Nobody owns your mind unless you give them access. Nobody controls your reactions unless you hand them the steering wheel. The moment you realize this, everything changes. You stop expecting life to be easy. You stop letting small problems trigger big reactions. You stop letting other people decide how you feel. You learn to stand still inside chaos. You learn to breathe inside pressure. You learn to respond with intention instead of emotion. That's where real strength begins. Think about it. If you can only be happy when life is perfect, you will be unhappy most of your life. But if you can stay grounded when life is messy, when things go wrong, when people disappoint you, then you become someone nothing can break. The world is the same for everyone, unpredictable, unfair, uncontrollable. The difference is how people handle it. Some react to everything. Others learn to respond with clarity, discipline, and maturity. When you give yourself the power to respond instead of react, you stop being a victim of life and you start becoming the author of your life. A reaction is automatic. A response is chosen. Reaction comes from emotion. Response comes from wisdom. Reaction makes things worse. Response makes things better. And the difference between the two is just a few seconds of awareness. People who react emotionally create problems and then blame the world for them. People who respond intelligently take responsibility and create solutions. That is how leaders think. That is how strong minds operate. That is how progress is built. The world will challenge you, your patience, your character, your boundaries, your confidence, but how you respond determines whether those challenges destroy you or strengthen you. Some people think controlling their reaction means suppressing their feelings. It doesn't. It means mastering them. It means acknowledging your emotions, but not letting them drive the car. It means feeling anger, but not letting anger dictate your words. Feeling disappointment, but still choosing perspective. Feeling fear, but still choosing action. Controlling your response doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop being controlled by your feelings. You never know who is watching you, learning from you, trusting you. How you respond under pressure defines you. Anyone can stay calm when life is comfortable. The real test is who you are when everything goes wrong, when somebody disrespects you, when plans collapse, when life doesn't play fair. That's where your character shows up. That's where your discipline shows up. That's where your growth begins. And when you learn to control your response, something powerful happens. Life stops feeling so heavy. You stop taking everything personally. You stop assuming the world is against you. You stop letting emotions run wild. You start thinking clearly. You start seeing solutions. You start feeling stronger, not weaker. Because you finally understand that peace comes from inside, not outside. You don't need the world to be different. You need to be different inside the world. You don't need people to behave perfectly. You need to hold your power no matter how they behave. You don't need everything to go your way. You need the discipline to respond with strength even when it doesn't. That is emotional maturity. That is self-mastery. That is the foundation of a powerful life. Life will never stop throwing storms at you. But storms don't break people who have learned to stay centered. The winds can blow, the waves can rise, but you know who you are. You know what matters. You control your inner world even when the outer world is chaos. And that's when life stops owning you, because you finally own yourself. So the next time something tries to steal your peace, remember this truth. You may not control what happens, but you always control what happens next. Most people think success comes from talent, intelligence, or opportunity. Those things matter, but they're not the foundation. The real foundation of a strong life is emotional maturity. Because the world is full of talented people who can't keep relationships, intelligent people who crumble under pressure, ambitious people who sabotage themselves every time they feel insecure. Emotional maturity is the ability to feel something without letting it control your decisions. It's the ability to communicate without attacking, to listen without defending, to stay grounded even when your mind is trying to drag you into chaos. And when you develop that level of maturity, every part of your life improves. Your relationships become healthier because you stop reacting out of insecurity and start responding with understanding. You stop needing to win every argument. You stop assuming the worst. You stop turning misunderstandings into wars. Emotional maturity means you don't have to be right to feel respected. You don't have to be loud to be heard. You don't have to control others to feel safe. You learn that connection is built through patience, honesty, and growth, not ego. Most relationships don't end because people fall out of love. They end because someone couldn't control their mouth, their tone, their pride, their reactions. Words spoken in anger can create wounds that last years. Silence during conflict can build resentment. Emotional immaturity is expensive in love, in friendship, in family. But when you learn to pause before speaking, when you learn to listen before responding, when you learn to understand instead of assume, everything changes. People trust you more. They feel safe with you. They can talk to you without fear. Emotional maturity makes love easier, deeper, stronger. The same is true in your career. You can be great at what you do, but if you can't handle pressure, if you take feedback personally, if you panic when something goes wrong, people won't follow you. They won't promote you. They won't trust you with responsibility. The most valuable people in any organization are the ones who can stay calm when everyone else is losing control. They make rational decisions. They solve problems instead of complaining about them. They don't create drama, they end it. Leaders are not the loudest people in the room. They're the ones who stay composed when the room explodes. Success requires emotional maturity because the journey to success is uncomfortable. There will be criticism, setbacks, rejection, delays, failures, misunderstandings, jealousy, and doubt. If you react emotionally to every challenge, you burn out, you quit, you ruin opportunities. But when you develop maturity, you become resilient. You stop taking everything personally. You stop assuming failure means you aren't capable. You start using pressure as fuel. You start seeing problems as puzzles instead of attacks. You begin to trust yourself on a deeper level. Emotional maturity builds confidence, true real confidence, not the kind that needs attention or validation. When you are emotionally mature, you don't need the world to approve of you to feel secure. You don't need to compare yourself to others. You don't need to prove your worth every time someone doubts you. You know who you are. You know what you bring to the table. Confidence becomes quiet, calm, unshakable. The reason so many people feel insecure is because they let every negative comment, every failure, every moment of rejection determine their value. But emotional maturity teaches you that one person's opinion is not your identity. One mistake is not your entire story. One hard moment is not your whole life. Confidence grows when you stop reacting to fear and start responding with awareness. You realize that discomfort is not danger. Criticism is not destruction. Challenges don't mean stop, they mean grow. And here's the truth. Emotional maturity is not something you're born with, it's something you build. It comes from self-awareness. It comes from reflecting on your patterns. It comes from noticing how you respond, how you think, how you treat people. It comes from admitting when you're wrong, apologizing when you've hurt someone, choosing responsibility over excuses. That kind of growth doesn't feel comfortable, but it creates a powerful life. Some of you grew up surrounded by chaos. Some of you learned to shut down because emotions felt dangerous. Some of you learned to explode because nobody taught you how to process what you feel. But your past is not your destiny. You can learn emotional maturity. You can learn emotional control. You can learn how to communicate in a way that brings peace instead of war. That's what evolution looks like. Emotional maturity doesn't mean you don't feel anything. It means you don't let feelings destroy what you've built. It means you give yourself time to understand your emotions before acting on them. It means you care about solutions more than reactions. It means you choose growth over ego. It means you don't allow temporary emotions to create permanent consequences. And the beautiful thing is, when you grow emotionally, people around you feel it. They notice your calm. They notice your clarity. They notice that you don't get pulled into negativity, drama, or chaos. They trust you. They respect you. They follow you. Because emotional maturity is not just a skill, it's a presence. People feel safer around someone who is steady. So ask yourself, are you reacting more than responding? Are you letting emotions lead your life? Or are you becoming the person who is calm in chaos, kind in conflict, and clear under pressure? That is the person with power. That is the person who wins in relationships, in business, and in life. Because emotional maturity doesn't just change how the world treats you, it changes how you treat yourself. And there's something you have to understand about growth. It doesn't happen in comfort. Nothing extraordinary was ever built by someone who chose what was easy over what was necessary. People look at successful athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders, and think they were born confident, born disciplined, born unshakable. They weren't. They were born just like you, just like me, full of uncertainty, fear, self-doubt. The difference is simple. They refused to be controlled by those feelings. They decided. They drew a line in the sand and said, enough, I'm not living below my potential anymore. That decision is where transformation begins. You cannot wait for confidence to show up before you take action. Confidence isn't the prerequisite, action is. When you move, even with fear in your chest and doubt in your mind, you teach your brain something powerful. I can survive this, I can handle this, I can do this. Every time you honor a commitment you make to yourself, whether it's going to the gym, waking up early, working on a project, or saying no to distractions, you're building an identity. And identity is everything. Identity is what determines whether you push through or give up, whether you settle or rise, whether you accept average or chase greatness. Most people want results, but they refuse to become the person those results require. They want the body without changing how they treat it. They want the business without the sacrifice. They want confidence without risking failure. That's not how life works. You don't get the reward until you prove you can handle the responsibility. Life doesn't respond to wishes, it responds to standards. Standards are not goals. Goals live on paper, standards live in your action. A goal says, I want to be fit. A standard says, I train even when I don't feel like it. A goal says, I want a better life. A standard says, I refuse to waste another year doing the same thing and expecting something different. Standards change who you are, not just what you want. And here's the part people rarely admit. Changing your standards means leaving people behind. When you start demanding more from yourself, the people who want comfort will feel uncomfortable around you. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're doing too much. They'll tell you to slow down, to relax, to stop trying so hard. Understand this. Most people don't actually want to see you grow because your growth reminds them of their stagnation. You have to be willing to be misunderstood. You have to be willing to outgrow conversations, environments, and habits that no longer fit where you're going. Think about it. Every breakthrough you've ever had happened after a moment of discomfort. The hardest choices you've ever made became the opportunities that shaped you. That relationship you walked away from, that job you left, that risk you took, all of it forced you to rise. You became stronger not because life was easy, but because you faced what was hard and decided not to break. If you survive what was behind you, imagine what you're capable of when you start intentionally pushing forward. And it's not about being perfect. Perfection is a lie that keeps people paralyzed. It's about progress, consistency, and refusing to betray yourself. You don't need to leap a mountain today. You just need to move one step, one phone call, one workout, 1 hour of focused work, one uncomfortable conversation. Small disciplines compounded over time become unstoppable momentum. That's how ordinary people create extraordinary lives. You have to become the kind of person who shows up even when it's inconvenient. That's where your self-respect is built. You can lie to other people and get away with it, but when you lie to yourself, when you say, I'll start tomorrow, when you know you won't, your soul feels it. Your confidence disappears, your belief erodes. Suddenly, you're not failing because life is hard, but because you stop trusting yourself. So imagine what happens when you reverse that. Imagine waking up and knowing that when you say you'll do something, you actually do it. Imagine building a life where your habits, your discipline, your standards make you dangerous in the best way. Not dangerous to others, but dangerous to every excuse, every limitation, every fear that ever tried to control you. When you operate at that level, life starts opening doors you didn't even know existed. And if you're sitting there thinking, but what if I fail? Let me make something clear. Failure is guaranteed. You will fall. You will make mistakes. You will embarrass yourself. But failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. The only people who never fail are the ones afraid to try. You don't build strength by avoiding pressure. You build strength by meeting it, by leaning into it, by choosing to get back up every single time. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if you stopped negotiating with your potential? What would change if you stopped letting fear make decisions for you? What would you become if you finally demanded more from yourself than you have ever demanded before? Because the truth is, your future isn't waiting on luck or timing or permission. It's waiting on you, your courage, your discipline, your standards, your decision to stand up and say, I'm done living small. And when you make that decision, not once, but every day, everything changes. Because the moment you raise your standards, your life has no choice but to rise with them.